Kenpachi is the king of manifestation, and here's why. Alright, so originally the fight between Kenpachi and Gremmy might seem a really bizarre matchup because Gremmy is a very abstract power, imagination, anything he thinks comes to life. And then you have Kenpachi, who's a brawler with his sword and high spiritual energy. So you would think, why does it make sense to put both of these two together? And it actually makes perfect sense. So let's start. Quick spoiler warning, I'm talking about stuff that has been up to date released with the anime, but some of it, further conversations that hold in the manga, I'm not covering in this, but if you're not caught up with the anime, then you might get spoiled. When Gremmy first comes on screen, you don't even actually meet him first, you meet his manifestation of life. His life form is so realistic that it has an ability of its own, as well as the ability to be seen by others, even though the ability allows it to render that, to be forgotten. Regardless, you meet his powerful ability before you actually meet Gremmy. And you can actually say the same is true for Kenpachi. One word, Yachiru. Kenpachi can also create life. And you're thinking, no, he found this girl in the forest, that's why she exists. Wrong, you're dead wrong. Because she is actually, without Kenpachi realizing it, and this is actually kind of brilliant on Tite Kubo's part, he created her. She's a manifestation of his sword. So this is kind of where the spoilers potentially start to happen if you didn't already put two and two together. The reason that he created her is, I believe, this is my personal theory, I believe she is part of his, not just his sword, his Zanpakuto, but also his curse that he got from Unohana, which is even more fitting because he named Yachiru after Unohana. Alright, we'll get back into the Unohana-Yachiru connection in a second, but let's go back to the swords first. We know the swords have souls. We've seen Ichigo's, and we know that, well, there's spoiler warnings about Ichigo's in his several stages, but they have souls when he goes to Soul King Society and gets to meet with the Zeros, and they talk about the swords and how they're created. They do mention yeah, they have souls. Oh my god, I did a bad job here. Okay, now going back to it. Ichigo's sword soul, only Ichigo can see that manifestation. It's mental and it's a connection spiritually. This just goes to show how powerful Kenpachi is because everyone can see Yachiru. And Yachiru has an ability of her own, just like Grimmy's Stern Ritter. So we've now established that the Zanpakutos have souls. They're manifestations, but some of them can come to life like Kenpachi's. And it's a rarity to be able to have the ability to manifest it to come to life. Now that that is out of the way, let's get back into Unohana and Yachiru and their connection and the whole curse on being just the soul of his sword. So Unohana is originally a serial killer, one of the most notorious in Soul Society, and before she picks up the name Ritsu and drops the name Kenpachi and gives it to Zaraki, even though it was unofficial because he didn't earn it yet, she was going by Yachiru, which means 1,000 styles, 1,000 flows. Basically, she knew so many techniques. And that was someone that Kenpachi admired, and that is why he named his manifestation Yachiru. It was in honor of her. But I also think that's what signifies the curse that is Yachiru. So this curse has been discussed at length already in the anime, but just to recap, Unohana was so happy to finally have met her match, even though it was in the form of Kenpachi as a child, and they were just having so much fun brawling it out because that's what they're designed to do. So once Kenpachi realized that if Unohana's gone, he loses the thrill of the fight, the ability to put his life on the edge, the opponent that is worthy for him, and then the fear of the loneliness of not having anybody to give him that feeling again, made the curse. That is what ended up handicapping him, and he now puts on handicaps when he fights other people so that he can still feel that thrill. So in a way, he's made himself weaker. And to her dismay, Unohana fully recognizes that she cursed Kenpachi. So now, what does that have to do with Yachiru? Well, Yachiru doesn't have a real name, and she's his sword, so that's the reason why Kenpachi is one of the captains that doesn't have a Bankai, which is just a testament to his strength originally. But going further into it, it wasn't until he recognized he had a curse, realized wait, I've been making myself weaker to the person I admired, and Unohana helped to break the curse she put on him, that he earned the name that Yachiru gave to him, which was the real name of his sword, Nozarashi. So going back into the topic of Kenpachi being the king of manifestation, not only did he, like Gremmy, manifest life, and like Gremmy, give that life powers, which once again makes him a great matchup, he also manifested a curse, and he was able to break his curse to get his real sword's name, which eventually means future Kenpachi is going to have a Bankai. But before we get to his big boy Bankai, which will have to be another episode when that eventually airs, let's talk about one more thing about Kenpachi, because manifestation isn't just mental. So what do I mean about that? Because everyone says, manifest this, manifest that, manifestation, it's all about putting the energy out there. It's not just that, it's also about putting the hard work to get to the point where your manifestations actually become reality. And that is another tie into the Gremmy and Kenpachi fight. So when Gremmy fights Kenpachi, we can't really blame his loss on his lack of imagination, because like he says at the end of the battle, I was fully able to realize your ability and your true strength. My problem was I didn't have a body that was able to withstand it. Now compare that to the hours of work that Kenpachi's been putting in, all the battles, going toe-to-toe with Unohana and dying and being revived multiple times. Kenpachi's body earned the physical ability to withstand his manifestation ability, as well as the true strength that he holds mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because that's one of the first things you know about him, is his immense spiritual pressure. So he needs a body that can actually uphold it. So all of that kind of goes toe-to-toe with bringing together the full circle of manifestation. One more thing with Gremmy and Kenpachi's fight that made them a great foil to one another was the fact that Kenpachi only has one real ability. He's able to cut anything. That's why he says to Gremmy over and over, "There's nothing you can't imagine that I can't cut." And with Gremmy and his established ability to manifest anything, putting these two together in a fight, what's beautiful is it's that Bruce Lee quote of, "I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And that's so poetic because that's Kenpachi. And that's even further shown in his Zanpakuto's true form. Nozarashi's true form is a butcher knife. And a butcher knife does one thing. It chops. There's nothing Kenpachi can't cut. Love how this turned out. Alright, just to say it one more time. Kenpachi is the king of manifestation, and here's why.